Good morning. Welcome to the United States Sports Academy and our weekly sports talk program. Today we're going to talk about Pete Rose and the recent developments in his saga. Commissioner Rod Manfred making a big announcement on Monday. And with me today I have Dr. Brett Simmermacher, who is from Ohio and probably a Pete Rose fan, and also a former Division I baseball player and longtime baseball coach. And to my right is Fred Cromartie. He's our Director of Doctoral Studies. And I know he has some excellent insight into the world of Major League Baseball and the Hall of Fame. I'm Steve Butler, and I'm your host this morning. Before we get started on Pete Rose, I just wanted to do a quick shout out to University of Alabama football player Derrick Henry, who last Saturday was announced as the second Alabama player ever to win the Heisman Trophy. And for those of you who watch our show all the time, you know that I'm an Auburn guy, but I give credit where credit's due. And so Derrick Henry, roll Tide. Let's talk a little bit about Pete Rose now. For a quick background, 1964, Pete Rose was the National League Rookie of the Year. In 1986, he retired as a player, and he went on and managed for 3 years after that. In 1989, he was placed on the permanent ineligibility list by Bart Giamatti, the current commissioner, for betting on baseball as a manager. In 1991, the Baseball Hall of Fame voted to ban any person on the permanently ineligible list, which basically meant they voted to ban Pete Rose from the Hall of Fame.
And Pete Rose rule.
Yes, and I think it's interesting to note that he retired as a player in 1986.
Yeah.
And you have to wait 5 years to be on the Hall of Fame ballot, and they conveniently passed that rule in 1991, which would have been his first year of eligibility. Another interesting fact about Pete Rose is that in 1997, he applied for reinstatement, and Bud Selig left as a commissioner of baseball in 2014 and never ruled on Rose's request for reinstatement.
Never acknowledged it.
Yeah. Typical Bud Selig, totally incapable of making a decision. And then this past Monday, of course, Commissioner Rob Manfred upheld the lifetime ban, saying that in his opinion, Pete Rose had not significantly changed his lifestyle to warrant being reinstated into baseball. So, Dr. Cromartie, do you think that Commissioner Manfred's ruling on Monday was the correct one or not?
No, not at all. The commissioner himself, in my judgment, erred. The only thing he did was he gave a little bit of leeway to say, hey, I don't have any control over the Hall of Fame. They can do what they want to do. Well, based on what Bart Giamatti did, the Hall of Fame basically enacted what he said, and it's been in place ever since. The simple fact of the matter is that who is baseball to say how it is that Pete Rose should have changed his life or anything like that? They never really said anything other than the fact that he gambled, and he lied about gambling. Well, let's cut out the hypocrisy. Major League Baseball is benefiting from FanDuel and fantasy baseball and all that good stuff, and that's just not right. Not right at all. So to answer your question, no, he did not make the right decision. The Hall of Fame is about what the players have done, and Pete Rose unequivocally has been one of the best players in Major League Baseball. Holds the record for hits. I mean, he was just a phenomenal player. Okay, now we want to go and say about his gambling issue in that. Today it's classified as a disease. Okay, it wasn't 30 years ago. Yeah. Today it is. So, maybe Pete Rose and his team get together, his legal team get together and say, you know what, let's play that golden trump card and see where it falls then. Because once you classify that and lay that out there, they got to backtrack. They're going to have to deal with it. But Pete Rose is taking the high road. He knew. He came out right afterward and said, look, you know what? I tried. Didn't work out. The man was in a very difficult situation. I didn't expect it to change. But I respect him for at least taking a look at it and rendering a decision.
Pete Rose's comments yesterday were awesome. In fact, Neil Everett on Sports Center last night said, if Pete Rose would have said those exact same words to Rob Manfred that he said today, we might not be having this conversation.
So yeah, it's kind of speculation, but I don't think so.
So Brett, what do you think?
I don't. I haven't ever thought it has been the right decision from the very onset of this whole ordeal. The thing that keeps coming out is the integrity of the game. Well, where is the integrity of the game when when all the stuff was going on with PEDs and still today? Why aren't those folks banned from baseball?
Well,
Or
it was out the
banned
window
from-
because they made money off the integrity of the game.
Exactly. And then the other point about that is, who did they bring in to Cincinnati when the All-Star game was there this year? And what made the All-Star game what it really,
Pete Rose.
the big spectacle
Yes.
was Pete Rose.
Yeah.
They brought him in there. The guy is baseball. I love what he said at the end of that interview you're talking about. Maybe he should be the commissioner of baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no better person out there when we're talking about baseball. Yes, has he made some bad choices and done some wrong things? We all do. There's plenty of people that are in that Hall of Fame that have done some things that were wrong.
Well, one of his lawyers, I can't remember which one of the two it was, yesterday said, it's the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Saints. And then he pointed out the actions of many other people who are currently in the Hall of Fame, and some of them were even criminal
Yes.
actions.
Yes.
And that's my whole point. So when you're talking about the integrity of the game, do we just pick and choose who that is?
Well, it depends on how you define the integrity of the game. And as of right now, the definition of the integrity of the game from the commissioner's standpoint is hypocritical.
Yeah.
Period.
And
I go back to what I just said earlier. When you talk about gambling, you can't say that one person, Pete Rose, affected the integrity of the game when he was gambling as an individual. Okay, this is not something he did sporadically. This is something this man has done. They say he continues to do, and he goes again. He's got a problem. But he fully recognizes that he has a problem, but he doesn't feel that it's a problem that has impacted his life outside of baseball. Okay, it's impacted his baseball life because they have not let him proceed on to be a member of the Hall of Fame ballot. Okay, to be voted on to get in there. Okay, but he's gone on with his life. The simple fact of the matter is that, again, I go and say, fantasy baseball.
Yeah.
Bottom line is there's big bucks because you see those commercials out there all the time. Advertise for baseball, advertise for football. I mean, you name it, they're involved in it. So how do these entities get to go on television and promote their fantasy leagues with the association of these sports? They've got the support of those sports, and it's by financial means, period.
Yeah, and the hypocrisy goes way back before Commissioner Manfred. I agree with Pete Rose. Commissioner Manfred was put in a bad spot.
Yes.
Because, he doesn't want to be seen as the first commissioner who is soft on gambling ever since, what was it, 1919, the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, the Black Sox.
Yeah, 1920.
And, you talked a little bit about the PEDs and the hypocrisy that goes with that. Bud Selig was always very, very much anti-Barry Bonds when he was pursuing Hank Aaron's record. And it's no secret that Bud Selig and Hank Aaron are good friends.
Mhm.
However, Hank Aaron admitted in his book that he did amphetamines all the time, and amphetamines are on the exact same list that steroids are when you look at the list today.
Oh, exactly. But they weren't on any list of banned substances back in the day when they were all taking them. A lot of those players back in that time period will say it was like M&Ms, man. They were like bowls
They
all
charge
around.
them.
Yeah.
Bowls all around the locker room. You just pick a handful up and you take them.
If you read Jim Bowden's book, Ball 4, they call them greens.
Yeah,
They had a big glass bowl full of greens. They'd take handfuls of them.
Yep.
Of course, they needed some help those days. Those darn uniforms they wore weighed like 50 pounds. Right? They got all sweaty. Goods laid up. The question about whether Pete Rose is a Hall of Famer, I think, is really kind of a silly question.
Sure.
Give you some numbers. Pete Rose is the all-time major league leader in the following categories. Games, he played 3,562 games. Plate appearances, 15,890. At-bats, 14,053. The big one, of course, is the hits. His website is Hits King 4256 because that's the number of hits he had, 4256. and singles 3,215. So anybody who leads the all-time major leaguers in 5 different categories who isn't named Babe Ruth or Barry Bonds is pretty significant.
But you made an interesting point there when you said Barry Bonds, because we're quickly becoming moving into an era where there's going to be some significant contributions of players in Major League Baseball that may not get into the Hall of Fame themselves. Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, A-Rod.
Yeah, 3 of the best players of all time.
Okay.
And you know, you mentioned before that amphetamines weren't on the list. When a lot of these guys, Mark McGwire, for example, and Sammy Sosa, for a good part of their career, steroids were not banned in Major League Baseball. Right. You know, when we all agree on this because we talked about it off the air, that the reason why not only was McGwire and Sosa's potential use of performance-enhancing drugs overlooked, it was encouraged in 1997 and 1998 because
The game was in trouble.
they had just had the strike. We lost the World Series in '94, and I think we all agree that the combination of Cal Ripken's consecutive game streak and the home run chase from Sosa and McGwire were the 2 things that brought baseball back to the forefront.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, after baseball's back, starting to make money again, the line's going this way instead of this way, and everything's all hunky dory. Now all of a sudden, Bud Selig gets a conscience, and you know, I think we all agree that he lied to Congress when he said he didn't know about it.
Well, he also pointed the finger at the union. The union didn't want this. The union didn't want that. Well, the union is in place for the players, and they're only acting on behalf of those players. And yeah, the players weren't, accepting of that because it's all the burden is passed and shifted back onto them. And the players are saying, "Wait a minute, don't sit here and lay it back on us because the game itself is complicit in everything that's going on." And for owners and the commissioner to sit there and say that they were unaware, they didn't know this, no.
Yeah,
that's just absolutely not true.
And the baseball writers, the same.
Yeah, they turned a blind eye too.
The same people who go in the Hall of Fame. I'm not even sure they turned a blind eye. I think they actually in some way encouraged the we had the commercial with Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux. Chicks didn't go long ball.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And the home runs were the cool thing. And these are the same clowns that were encouraging that use of things who are now not voting for Barry Bonds, not voting for
Exactly.
Clemens. And all I got to say about the integrity and the intelligence of the Baseball Writers Association of America is 44 of them did not vote for Willie Mays. Do I need to say anything else?
It'll probably be the same 44 that don't vote for
Mario.
Yeah.
To put Pete Rose's numbers in perspective, the current active leader in 4 of those 5 categories we talked about is Alex Rodriguez, who you mentioned earlier. He has 2,719 games played, which is 843 less than Rose. So even if he played every game, it would take him about 5.5 years. And obviously, at age, he just turned 40 about a month ago. He's not going to play every game. In plate appearances,
They might come out with a new PED that makes him play longer.
in terms of plate appearances, he's 3,926 behind Rose. So if he averaged 500 plate appearances a year, it would take him 8 years to reach Rose. In at-bats, it's about the same, 3,712. So he would need 8 years to do that. The big one, hits, he's 1,186 hits behind Rose. If he averaged 150 hits a year, which as the amount he's playing now, he probably won't do. It would take him 8 years. And then singles, the actual active leader in singles is Ichiro, and he's 825 singles behind Rose. So it would take him about 6 years, and he's pretty much a part-time player now. One of the interesting stats I looked at yesterday when I was looking at this is Ichiro has 2,935 hits, and his new hitting coach is Barry Bonds, and Barry Bonds has 2,935 hits. They're tied for 25th or 27th, whatever place they are. Ichiro and Barry Bonds right now have exactly the same number of hits. So it'd be interesting to see, Ichiro with Barry Bonds as his hitting coach may hit 74 home runs next year. Anyway, I think probably that this is the last chance that Pete Rose had. He's 74 years old now. I think it'll be sad if the commissioner, whoever the commissioner is at that time, if they take a different action after he passes away. I think that would add to the hypocrisy, in my opinion. I think the three of us agree that Pete Rose is unquestionably a Hall of Famer. I think that you separate what he did as a player from what he did as a manager, and he was not a very good manager, so he would not be going into the Hall of Fame as a manager.
Right.
But the numbers we just talked about, I think, unequivocally make him a Hall of Famer as a player. And he's admitted to mistakes, and I think his lawyer summed it up perfectly when he said, "It's not the Hall of Saints, it's the Hall of Fame."
Well, I think the commissioner actually kind of put the burden back on the Hall of Fame.
He did.
Those guys can actually go back and, take a look and put
Right.
him on the ballot. And if they're true baseball fans and baseball lovers of the game, they're going to basically sit down and they're going to look at his accomplishments as a player and say, unequivocally, he deserves to be placed on the ballot and let the chips fall where they may. The simple fact of the matter is that if they get him on the ballot, then again, it's up to the writers in that. And a lot of those writers that were around when he was around knew and know exactly what he was as a player, I think they would have voted for him. Yeah, they have voted for him. But you've got a bunch of new people out there now. And again, we come with this whole thing. He broke the cardinal rule of baseball and he gambled. Well, there's a whole lot of people, like you said before, that broke cardinal rules. Unfortunately, they weren't just all applied to baseball, and they're not banned, and they're in the Hall of Fame, and you got to take it for what it is. As a player, he was phenomenal.
Yeah.
As a human being, he's questionable.
Yeah.
But we're all questionable.
Right. Ty Cobb was one of the worst people ever. One of the things that I may disagree with you a little bit on is at this point, I don't think he'd go on the ballot. I think he'd go to the Old Timers Committee because he's been retired for 26
years, yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he would. He would go in the
So
Old
that
Timers.
may work in his favor
Yeah.
because the Old Timers. Anyway, we're all out of time for today. I had announced last week that we weren't going to have a show next week, but we got so many comments from folks out there just like you that said they wanted to have a show that we changed our mind and we are going to do a show next week on the 23rd of December. We will not do one on the Wednesday between Christmas and New Year's because a lot of people in this building will be on vacation, enjoying some time with their family. So keep those emails coming. Let us know what you want us to talk about. When we come back next week, we have no idea what we're going to talk about yet. But on the 6th of January, the last NFL regular season game is on January 3rd. So on the 6th of January, we're going to do our annual NFL playoff preview show. If you have
Carolina Panthers Super Bowl champs.
If you have any great ideas about what you want to talk about next week or any other week, send us an email, give us a phone call, keep those cards and letters coming, and have a great week in sports. And if you can't join us next week, have a great holiday.
Happy holidays.